Okay, class, what we're going to do today here is we're going to start our first program. So one of the things you need to remember is this particular program is worth 5% of your overall grade. So if you've forgotten, one of the things you can do is pull up your syllabus. So I'll take a minute and do that real fast here and show you that you're going to have a total of 3 different programs for this. If we come down here to um, have a look, so 2 to 3 programs, we are going to have 3 programs, and they're worth a total of 15% of your grade. Now, your first program we're going to do together. We're going to do it right now. And I'm hoping all this will show up really good. If it doesn't, just let me know. Email me, and I'll see what I can do to rectify the situation. Maybe get you a copy of my notes or something like that. So the first thing we're going to do here is we need to get a general idea of exactly how this particular program is going to work. So we're going to have a calculator program, and we're going to be using two different files. So you guys are used to doing programs with just one file, and we're going to be doing 2 different files. So the first file is going to be called you might want to get some notes out for this, but this is going to be called let's call this mycalc. And then we're going to have another one. So this is also going to contain your main method. Then from here, we're going to make calls to other methods. Which will be located in another file called, and we'll have it over here, this one will be called calcguts. Okay. And there'll be an underscore on that. So right now we are in the planning. Okay, and we are also going to, as we do this, our calculator is going to be able to do a total of 5 different things. It's going to be able to do addition. It's going to be able to do subtraction. It's going to be able to do multiplication. It's going to be able to do division. And it's also going to be able to do something called modulus. All right. It's going to accept 2 numbers, and then based on the operand, meaning does the user use plus, minus, the asterisk, the divide, or the percentage for modulus, all right, percentage for modulus, it will call a method in the calcguts and perform the operation, the mathematical operation on it, and print the result. All right, so that's what's going to happen. Then at the very end of this, we're going to make sure that we loop it all the way around. All right, so as we do this, we're going to keep doing some more planning. We're going to do some more pseudocode here, and we'll have a look at how the mycalculator, the mycalc is going to work, and then what it's going to look like over in myguts. Okay, so mycalcguts. So this is again, it's all about just the planning stage. So the first thing we want to do is we remember that we're going to code a little, and then we want to test. And that is something that is really, really important to keep in mind. Sorry about that. I didn't check to make sure that, there we go. So we're going to make sure we code, and then we want to test. Code, test, code, test. That's something that's really, really important for us to remember. So over on the left-hand side here, this is going to be my my myCalc. And the first thing that we're going to do, and I'll try to do this in kind of different colors. The first thing we're going to do is we're going to set it up to accept or get, I should say get number 1, and then get number 2. All right. And after we've got number 1 and number 2, and of course we'll have a print statement in here, you know, please enter num1 and please enter num2. All right, so we'll have, you know, we're going to have two of those guys. So we'll get num1 and we'll get num2. And after we've got those, we'll do a quick debug to make sure that that's working. So we'll just do make sure it's working. Just a quick debug, make sure it's working and printing that out. Now, before we can do a whole lot with this, we're going to come over and we're going to code out the calc guts. All right, and we're going to, as we code it, we're going to test it. So on the left over here is myCalc, and then over here is going to be the calc guts. So my first calc, my first method within my calc guts. So this is going to be class calc guts, and a class, as we know, contains methods. The first method we're going to do is the add method, and the add is going to be the identifier for that. The next thing we're going to do is identify the parameters for that method. Well, this particular method is going to accept two floats, and we will call them internally n1 and n2, and these are floats. All right, we'll just kind of note that. And then inside of our add method, we're going to simply say float. I want to do float. I guess I should say double. I apologize. I should say double. Okay, so we're going to say double, and this is an add, so we can say double sum. And then we'll say print your sum is, and we'll print the sum. Okay. After we've done that, we would come over to test this. We're going to come over into myCalc, and we're going to call this using dot notation. All right. So to call this, so this is called call. So to call the method, we're going to say calc guts dot add, and then we're going to send it the numbers that we collected up here. So we would say num1, comma num2. Now keep in mind that whatever order you place them in over here in your calc or myCalc, it goes in the same order over into the calc guts. So make sure you are paying attention to that. So after you've done this, after you've tested it, you've written your method and you tested it, you're going to come back and you're going to write the second one. So the second one is going to be sub, and it's going to accept two parameters, and they're both going to be double. And inside of that, we're going to do a double. It's going to be a double diff, right? And then we'll say print. I should have said sum equals n1 plus n2, and this should be diff equals n1 minus n2, and then we would print diff. After we've done this, we come back over here. Notice I want to leave just a little bit of space in between, and I would say calc underscore guts dot called the sub, that was the identifier, sub, send it num1 and num2. Now I'm going to leave the multi. You take just a minute, put me on pause, you take a minute and you write out the multi. But you're going to use the exact same tactics that you have above here. So go ahead and pause that and come back to it. And then make sure you test it. After you've done each one of these, we would then do another one, div. Now on the div one, I'm going to allow it to accept num1 and num2, but if you remember, you can't divide by 0. So on this, it's called a quotient. And we're going to say, by the way, that'll be double. We're going to say quotient equals, well, before we do that, we need to say if num2 is greater than 0, right? As long as num2 is greater than 0, then we'll say quotient equals num1 divided by num2, and then we would do a print off of that. And then else, that means that it's 0 or less, we would say print can't divide by 0. All right. So if how about we say n2 is equal to 0 instead of that. I don't like that either. Too bad I don't have any eraser for this. What I really want to do is if num2, so over here I want to say, let's rearrange this if statement. If n2 is equal to 0, print can't div 0, else, there we go, else quote equals num1 divided by num2, and then print quote, and we'll get rid of the rest of this. So after we fumble through that mess there together, we would come over and we would say calc underscore guts dot div and send it num1 comma num2, and then finally we have the modulus. So modulus kind of looks like this. Modulus gives us the remainder of division. It's going to be set up exactly the same way as division. It just keep in mind that whatever we get out of it, it's a remainder. So for example, if you say 9 mod 2, the remainder of that is going to be R1, because 2 will go into 9 4 times, but there'll be a remainder of 1. So this is a particular operation that is not useful to us in our daily life, but it turns out that in computer science it's really helpful, especially well, there's a lot of different things that use it. For example, your ISBN number on the back of your book, the formula to make sure that that is a validated number, actually uses modulus to ensure that that it is there aren't any numbers that are transposed. All right, so Let's go ahead and do this. So this is going to be mod. That's what we'll call it. It's called modulo actually. It's going to accept two numbers, n1 and n2. And let's get it straight this time. So if, I should get it straight, n2 is equal to 0, because it's still a division operation. It just gives me the remainder. If n1 is greater or is equal to 0, print can't div by 0. And we can clean this up when we actually code it out in a few minutes here. Else modu is equal to n1%, that's modulus, n2, and then we'll do a print on modu. All right. Now, after we're done that, we come over here and we test it one more time. Oops. Remember, we use that dot notation. So calcguts, that's my class name, dot mod, send it my numbers, num1, comma num2. And I run it, and in my output, I'm going to see what the two numbers are added, subtracted, multiplied, divided, and modded together. That's the whole point. Now, after we've done that, we've actually done the bulk of the program at this point in time. But now it's time to go back and kind of clean it up a little bit more. So we're going to do a few things. This is why I hope you left spaces in here. All right. So the first thing is you're going to get num1, you're going to get num2, and then you're just going to call them. So that's all we're doing right now. But that doesn't take into account what if the user wants to add them. It does the way it is right now, it does all of them. What if we want to add it? Or we want to subtract it, or we want to divide it, or we want to multiply it, or we want to use modulus on it. Well, if that's the case, what we can do is right here, right before we actually send out these, we're going to say, let me see, how do I want to do this? So right in here, we're going to get operation, all right? And we're going to be expecting addition, subtraction, multiplication, division, or a percentage sign for modulus. And right here, we're going to say if op is equal to plus, because that's the add, it's going to execute that. Else, if op is equal to, and I'm going to put this in single quotes, a minus, execute that. Else if op is equal to, it's multiplication, do that. So this is all in one fell swoop. Before, remember, we were implementing, testing, implementing, testing, implementing, testing. Well, we got to finish off this whole if loop when we do this. So if op is equal to a divide sign, do the div, else if op is equal to a percentage sign, do the modulus, and then we got to put in a default here. What if the user puts in something else? And by the way, this op, whenever I declare this, it's going to be a F-type character. All right. Else, what if it's not any of those? We need to print invalid entry. All right. So after we do that, we're going to test it. We're going to run it. And then we're going to do one more thing after that. It's not very useful to us if the user, let's see if I can find a different color pen here. I don't know that I have one, but it's not going to do us a lot of good if the user can only run it once and then have to click run again. So we're actually going to put the whole thing into a loop. And at this point in time, I want you to take just a second and think about this. It's going to go into my calc. Notice once we've tested this, we don't need to touch it. If it's all working, you don't touch it. All right? kind of locked in. Think of it as locked in. And we're just kind of putting the tweaks over here in the my calculator, the my calc. So at this point, we need to ask ourselves, well, what do we want to loop? And the answer is, well, we want everything. We want the user to be able to enter in num1 again, and num2. We want them to enter what the operator is, and then we want it to go through this. So what we're going to do is all the way at the top, we're going to put in a little do here. So we're going to say do. So notice how I've done this. I got everything else done. Now I come back and I want to say do all of this. Of course, this will be while, I want to drop this down just a little bit. While, again, okay, while again is not equal to X. All right, and I mean, we might even say something else here. Well, it's not equal to X, and that's for uppercase, and again is not equal to a lowercase x. Now you might ask yourselves, or you should be asking yourself, well, Mike, what the heck is again? What are you talking about? What is again? Well, again is going to be a new variable that I'm going to declare, and right after this, I'm going to print, would you like to play again? X to exit. Any other key to use again. All right. So now you get the hang of it. So we have 3 different stages. Everything you see in red, you're going to do first. And remember, and I'm going to kind of highlight this one more time. Remember, after you get everything basically set up, you're going to create your add method, right? You're going to create that add method, and then you're going to test the add method. Then you create the sub method, and then you test the sub method, and you go all the way down through that, okay? Just like that. So what I'm going to do at this point in time, I'm going to kind of flip over to my Eclipse. So here's my Eclipse. I got that up and running. Let me see if I can zoom in on that. See if that makes it any better for you. Whoops. All right, so hopefully that'll be looking pretty good there. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to start creating a new project. So I've got a new Java project. Maybe I should switch out my keyboard. This is going to be a really, really loud keyboard. I just thought about that. Let me see here what I got. Maybe I can't. I got too many things plugged in. So you're stuck with a really loud keyboard. Sorry. Not my Java. I want to make this my calc. Just my calc. All right. After I've done that, I need to add 2 different things in here. I'm going to add 2 classes. The first one I'm going to add is going to be called myCalc. All right. And for this, I want to do the public static void main, because keep in mind that this is going to be the entry point for our particular program. And as soon as that happens, I want to make sure that while I'm at it, I want to say end main method. And then I want to come in and I want to say end class myCalc. And I really think it's going to be too loud. So let me see if I can get a better keyboard hooked up here. Give me just a second. Okay, there we go. I'm hooked up. Let me get my keyboard out of the way. Okay. And I'll come back up here and make sure that I do some other stuff, you know, while I'm at it, because there's some other stuff that I'm going to need to do. Okay. I'll get that nice and set up. And the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to come back here and I'm going to right click. I'm going to say new class. Now in this one, we are not going to click on public static void main. We don't need that. But this one's going to be called CalcGuts. Okay, so there's CalcGuts, and then here I'm going to say and I should be good to go. All right. Now, real quick, I'm going to come in here and I'm going to right click. I want to say run as Java application and let it run. Now, following my pseudocode and the different things I said I was going to do, I want to come in, say scanner, kb n equals new scanner system.in. This is stuff that you should have a general idea of what's going on, right? Except for that, it should say equals. All right, that's looking pretty good. I'm going to need several different variables, all doubles. So I'm going to need num1, num2, and I'll come back and I'll put that char in later. But remember, this is called an inline declaration when I set them up like that. I can go ahead while I'm thinking about it if I want, and I can put in choice. Choice is going to be for the operator, and again, that's going to be allowing for the looping. All right, and should be okay. It should be okay running without. If we need, we'll comment that out. So this is creating the scanner object. And this is all about making the variables. And we're declaring our variables. All right, so I'm going to do my input number 1. Please enter your first number. And we'll say num1 equals num1 equals kbn. And that's going to be a double. So next double. Notice how I'm still typing everything, and you should probably be doing the same thing. Because it gives you practice. If you're like, well, Mike, why? Why do I need to do that? Well, it gives you practice. So num2 equals, num2 equals KB. And I'm actively thinking about what I'm doing here, all right? All right, so at that point in time, I am going to go ahead and run this. and then our first number and second number, and there we go. All right. I should be okay. If you really want to put a print statement in here to see that you have accepted in the first and second number, that's fine. But I'm going to go ahead and skip on it over here. I want to tighten this up a little bit. I'm going to come over, and I'm now going to go ahead and declare my, or create my first method. So when I document a method, I really like to make it look nice. So I'm going to come in, I want to put a block comment in here, and I want to say add method, and this accepts 2 doubles and outputs sum. So just a real quick, this is what it does. And then we're going to go in and we're going to declare it. So I want to explain everything that I'm doing so that you know what's going on. So public says that anybody is allowed to access this. We have we have several different types of methods, but one of them is public and the other one is private. Well, in this case, we're saying you can access it. Static says you can access it, but you're not allowed to change it. It's static. Void means you can access it and you can feed me information, but I'm not going to give you anything back. Everything I'm doing is going to be done internally within this method. So public, static, void, and next is my identifier. That is the name of my method. So in this case, it's going to be add. Now, if you are looking over at your pseudocode, like I am, I'm supposed to have 2 different numbers, N1 and N2. Well, I need to make the type for these numbers the same as the type of these numbers. So these were doubles over here, so I need to make these doubles. I want to call one of them N1, and I want to have another one internally called N2. Now, after that, we need to put in our curly brackets. Remember, our curly brackets state that what's in between them belongs to that particular method. So this is in the add method. And then inside here, we're going to say double sum. All right. And if you want, you can make it all one big thing. You could say sum on that. You could say sum or equals num1 plus num2. But I'm going to break it up and I'm going to say sum equals n1 plus n2. And then the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to say system.out.println. And the way I'm going to do this is I want to make it, I want to set it up like an actual math expression. So I want to say num1 plus. Now that I'm using that plus as a concatenating operator, and I'm going to put a literal equal sign in here. Okay, the quotes mean what is in here is literal, and in this case, I'm putting space plus space. This plus right here, this represents the concatenating operator, meaning I want to string multiple things together. So plus num2, concatenate to that an equal sign, and then concatenate to that sum, just like that. All right. So what's going to output is this, just so you're aware. It's going to say, let's say that I have 10 plus 10. My 2 numbers are 10, so it's going to say 10 plus 10. Well, if I can get that plus in there, 10 equals 20. That's literally what's going to output here, except for I keep saying num1 and it should be n1. Differentiate. Okay. Okay, so in following suit with what I told you earlier, where we want to code a little bit and then we want to test, we're going to come back over here and we're going to call that function. Now here's the neat thing, the IDE, it can see over here. So I want to come in and I'm going to say calc guts. Watch what happens as soon as I hit dot. Notice how my method pops up. There it is, and it tells me what the parameters, so what's it expecting? What's expecting two numbers, and they got to be double. It's telling me right there what it does. All right, that's kind of neat. So I want this one right here, and I want to put in num1 because that's what I collected in num2. All right, remember that's what I collected up here, num1 and num2, that's where that's coming from, just to be clear. At this point in time, I can run this, and if everything is good, I put in 10 and 10, and look at that, 10 plus 10 equals 20. All right, we're going to come back over, and we're going to code a little bit. Public. Now, all we're going to do really this time around is we're going to copy, only don't copy and paste, we're going to copy what we did above. All right, so think about it. Public static void, what did all that do? Sub is my identifier. Let's say double N1, double N2. By the way, I have my pseudocode right here next to me. Don't believe me? Look, right here it is. See? It's right here. All right, so make sure you are, oh, you can't see it, never mind. I won't share that back, but I do, I have it right here. Then I'll come in and I'll say, oh, I forgot to say that what this is going to be. All right, I'll put that in there. Whoops. So this guy is going to be the sub. You can do that for each and every one of these guys. This time I want to do everything kind of in line. I talked about that, so watch this. I'm going to say double if, and I want to set that equal to n1 minus n2. All right, that's what I mean by inline. I can do that. I can get away with that, and everything should be just hunky dory. So dot out dot line. I want to say n1. Remember, this is a concatenating operator, so then I'm going to say that, concatenate to that, num2, concatenate to that an equal sign, concatenate to that if. After I've done that, I'm going to come back over to here, and I'm going to say count guts. So as I hit dot, notice that my sub now shows up. I'm going to send it num1 and num2. I'm going to give it a run, see if it works. I want to put in the same numbers. 10, 10, 10 plus 10. Yep. So we're getting the hang of it. So at this point in time, what I want you to do is I want you to take a second, and I want you to pause me, and I want you to see if you can do the same thing by yourself, only it's going to be the product, right? Because that's the next one that we need to do. It's going to be the product. So let me come over here and check off what I've done. We did the add, we did the sub, and I called it multi is what I called mine. So see if you can do it. Put me on pause. Get a little bit of caffeine going here. Okay. Now, hopefully, you had something like this, right? I am going to do a little copy and paste, and you should not copy and paste. Okay. Why, you ask? Because you need the practice. All right, I'm going to come over and test mine now. There's my multi. Running. Everything's looking pretty good so far. All right, next thing's next. And you thought this programming stuff was hard. Look how easy this is. All right, so the next step, actually, I want to get rid of that. That's what I want to get rid of. I want to make this just a little bit smaller. There we go. Okay, so the next thing I want to do is I want to come in and I'm going to do the div method. That's the next thing. Okay, so static void. So it is a div. It's going to contain 2, double and 1, and double and 2. This is end the div method. You know what? I forgot to do that up here. So this is going to be end multi method. And I think I even forgot to do it up here. And sub. All right, there we go. Well, I might want to. There we go. Now we're good to go. Okay, so this is called a quotient. So I'm going to say double quote, and that is going to, we're just going to leave it at that, double quote. We're going to say if n1 is equal to 0. Well, if that's the case, send that out, print on, you cannot find by. Now, if you're wondering where on earth, Mike, am I getting all this from so fast? My pseudocode. I got my pseudocode over there, remember? I'm working on my pseudocode. So else, working off my pseudocode, else double equal to n1 divided by n2. And in this particular case, I got a lot going on here. I want that to happen. I should say double. Oh, I don't have to say double again. I'm going to say quote equals that, and then I want to say system print line. Oh, come on, Mike. Line. I'm going to kind of steal this up here. I'm just going to come back up here, and I want to copy and paste it in. Again, I recommend you type out the whole thing. So it's going to look like this: n1 divided by n2 equals quotient is that? And test it. Got to test it. I'm gonna run it. There we go. Yep, looking good so far. All right. The last thing, and by the way, you might want to put in like 9.2 just so so you get used to a different set of nodes or a different set of test environments. All right, so the last thing we have is we got that modulus. All right, so I was looking over at my notes, making sure that I'm right on track. Got modulus, so this is modulus. All right. Okay. Now, for this one, it's pretty well exactly the same as the divide. So you take a method, put a minute, put me on pause, and see if you can get the modulus working. It's just like the div, except for instead of the divide, you're going to use the percentage sign. Give it a shot, put me on pause, and see if you can type it all out. Don't forget to test it. Or are you still here? Okay. Do a copy and paste. Call it mod. Modu. Change this to a percentage. Modu. Modu. Should be good. I'm going to go ahead and testing. Mod 1 and 2. Okay, let's run it. And I want to use that 9 and 2 again, okay? Because 9 mod 2 should be a 1. Ah, there it is. Awesome. All right, so we have everything tested. Everything is running really well. And, you know, kind of think about that. Take just a second and think about that. We implemented everything in our class calc guts, okay, meaning this is the most important part. All of this is working appropriately, all right? We tested it. Now, at this point in time, you're going to lock all of this down. If you run into an error, this is not where it came from. It's coming from your new calc guts, okay? So what we're going to do next, looking at my notes, is we need to accept and create that if statement. So we're going to ask the user for the operation. System.out.println. Please enter plus minus multiplication, division, and modulus, right? And then we're going to accept that in. Well, what did it do? There we go. That should take care of it. All right, so we got that in. And what we're going to do is we're going to say, we're going to use this choice up here. All right, that's why we put the char choice, and we'll get to that again in a minute. So we're going to say choice is equal to KBN. Okay, now this one's a little tricky. All right, it's a little tricky. It's not horrible, but it's a little tricky. KBN dot, and we're going to do next. All right, next parentheses dot care at care at, all right, care at position 0. All right. So let me explain this. When we input things into Java, I'm going a little bit deeper than I need to, but when we input things, we're inputting them as a string. That's how Java handles it. And a string is an array of characters. So we're telling Java to accept in as input the string that's being input, just the first character, the character at 0. All right. Now, next thing we're going to do is set up this nice if statement down through here. So we're going to say if, right? If choice is equal to, forget to put 2 equal signs. If that is equal to, in the single quote here, right? If that is equal to this is the add a plus, well, execute that. Else if, and we got to complete this whole thing, choice is equal to a minus. Okay. Make sure it's single quotes, unlike me, because it is a character. Else if choice is equal to multi, that's going to be an asterisk. Else if choice is equal to this is division, right? Else if choice is equal to percentage. And then we gotta have that default case. So else, meaning it's nothing above, system.out.println, that is an valid choice. Okay. Okay, so we got the whole if statement done, and now it should begin to function more like a normal calculator. 10, 10, I have a cap locks on. There we go. What do I want to do? Well, I want to add them together. And then we're going to test each one of those paths. 10, 10 minus. We're going to make sure that we got everything going on. 100. Should be, I want to do 9 and 2 and divide. That's right. And 9, 2 and percentage. Cool. Looking good to me. All right, so our last step, according to my notes, is we need to loop this thing. All right, we need to put a loop in here. Now, we said we wanted to start the loop up at the top, just above, enter your first number, and then it's got to come all the way down through the invalid choice. But here's the deal. After this, we need to ask the user, do you want to perform this again? And then we're going to check our continuation condition. So I'm going to define my loop. Start my loop here with the curly bracket, right? And then it's going to end down here, but I'm going to leave a bit of space, okay? It's going to end here, and we're going to say continue looping while again, okay? While again is not equal to a capital X, and that's 2 ampersands, that's above the number 7, in case you don't know, is not equal to lowercase x, all right? Now, here's the deal. The way we have this set up, hold on, again, there we go. And while again is, the reason we're getting this weird looking error over here is, well, we haven't put anything into again. So we need to put one last little statement in here. We need to capture, we need to ask the user, do you want to do this again, right? So system.out.println, about enter. Okay, so let me widen that up a little bit so you can see it. Make sure it's all on there. I think I got it all. There we go. So system.out.println, would you like to use this again? Hit X to enter any other key to continue. And there is a semicolon on the end down there. Now we need to say again is equal to, do you remember how to get a single character? KBN dot next. Notice how much repetition there is. Once you learn something, you just know how to do it. Learning the translation. All right, so let's go ahead and run this, see what happens. Would you like to do it again? Yep, I would. Now we know, remember, we've already tested all the paths, so we know how that works. So all we really need to test at this point is it going to loop? So it looped with the 1, and I'll hit an X. That exited. Oh, it didn't exit. Oh, no, it did exit. Yeah, it did. I'm sorry. No, it didn't. Let's see. What's going on here? Oh, that time it exited. I don't know what happened. It looks like it's working now. Let's see. I'll try it again. Oh, it's working. So I hit X, but I need to test for capital X as well. All right. Yep, it's all exiting. At this point in time, you're all finished up. All right. You got your cool program. You got everything going on. However, what we need to do is we need to turn this in. So how do we turn it in? Well, that's a really good question. So you need to locate. Let me switch here. You need to locate share application. All right. So you can see this. So we need to locate our working folder. Mine is on my desktop. It's under, let me see, modified. It is under, oh, sorry, I thought that it was, maybe it's not. My Java programs. So there's my Java programs. And under here is the my calc document. You're going to right click on that and you're going to say send to compressed zipped folder. All right, compressed zip folder. So you're going to turn that in just like that. Now yours, hopefully you read the directions. It should say, you should have labeled this like your username in there. But if you didn't, that's okay. You don't need to redo the whole thing at this point in time. We'll catch that on the next one. So you're going to take that folder right there. Notice I did not double click inside of there. I have to have that entire folder, that my calc, which exists inside of your workspace. All right, there's my workspace. You want that whole thing. Now, if you've forgotten where your workspace is at, in here it'll, hold on. Share application. Okay, there we go. In here, if you click on File, it'll show you where this exists. Like if you click on Others, so where you're currently at, it'll show you. Okay. So again, one last time, just to kind of show you here. this up. File Explorer. So mine is on my desktop under My Java Programs. You're going to right click on your project folder, send to compressed zip folder. If you have 7-zip or something like that, you know what you're doing otherwise. On a Mac, you're going to right click on it, and I think it says compress, I think is what it is. So either way, look at it and see there. So I'm going to send this to a compressed folder, and that's what I'm going to submit. I'm going to go up to Blackboard and turn that in. If you have any questions, just shoot me an email. I'll do my best to address it for you. This is due, in case you have questions. I'm going to be kind of unavailable on Friday. So I'll make this due. I'll make it due soon. I'll put it up in Blackboard when it's due. All right. Have a great evening, and let me know if you need anything.